I guess since we're on this note, let's have a quick look at this video. So this video is from Fireship. Fireship is, I think, a pretty well-known coding technical channel. This is pretty short, but I wanted to have a look at this. So this idea of vibe coding, I only just came across it yesterday. A student mentioned vibe coding, and I'm like, what's that? And then this came up today, and I thought, as game designers, I thought it was a very interesting one to have a look at. So I'll kind of start playing and maybe pause it so we can maybe comment on that.
The programming world went mad with a disease called the vibe coding mind virus. For those who have not yet been infected, vibe coding is a term coined by ex-OpenAI wizard Andrej Karpathy, where you fully give in to the vibes, embrace exponentials, and forget that the code even exists. This term has taken the world by storm, and virtually every code influencer on the internet right now is following in the footsteps of Apex indie hacker Peter Levels, who recently vibe coded a crappy real-time flight simulator MMO with JavaScript. Then he leveraged his large Twitter following to sell in-game advertisements and make a ton of money. You gotta respect the pure tech bro genius here, but the problem is that now everybody is vibe coding crappy games and flooding the internet with more and more AI generated slop. But
Okay, so can you see the link there? The AI generated slop, as Mr. Fireship put it. Yeah, we're getting a lot of this stuff coming through, which is it's interesting. You know, I've been developing games for a couple of decades, well before AI came about. Any thoughts on that, Fraser?
I guess when we were talking about image gen AI at the start, in the back of my mind, there is that sort of argument that, you know, to be art, it kind of needs a human hand involved more than just typing out prompts and having a computer visualize it. And I feel like you can really see that in these games, and that idea of, you know, that AI slop, the idea that, and this parallels to another conversation which I think is interesting with games, is sort of that art versus entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
Is it, you know, a medium for artistic expression or a vehicle for entertainment that can be sold and made a profit on? And
Yep.
I feel like part of being in the industry is trying to ride that line. I think seeking value and seeking an audience based on creating art, and then hoping that, or probably better than hoping, implementing ways to profit off of it so you continue to live and make more games. And so when you see these AI, these vibe-based, vibe-coded games, it very much feels like a complete detachment from the art, and just a vehicle for getting attention and making money.
Let's carry on, because there's some more stuff in here which I think is really quite interesting beyond just these AI generated games, and I think that's something that's actually may have a bit more of a positive impact. So let's just have a look.
According to the CEO of Anthropic, this is the way. He recently stated that in just 12 months, virtually all code will be written by AI. And in today's video, we'll look at real-life examples of when vibe coding goes wrong, and check out some awesome tools and techniques to help you vibe properly. It is March 26, 2025, and you're watching the Code Report. The first thing you need to realize is that coding and programming are not the same. Coding is the skill of translating logic into instructions for a computer by writing code. An elite coder might be able to bang out 100 words per minute of perfect C code in Vim purely from memorized syntax, but large language models are making this skill obsolete. An 8-year-old prompter can now write code faster than a skilled professional with 20 years of experience. But programming is a far broader skill that's hard to describe. It's both an art and a science that requires ingenuity, creativity, and good instincts gained through experience. The best programmers often spend more time removing code than writing code, and if you don't understand the code you're vibing out like a true programmer, you won't get very far. Like this.
So let me ask you. I mean, you're not really a programmer, Fraser. But you've done some coding, I could say, yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah. Now, the question that comes into my mind with this, you know, when they talk about, you know, AI is going to be doing all the coding, and like, I'm like, okay, but hang on. You know, I'm thinking, well, do you realize how difficult it is to communicate to, as a designer, to your coders about what you really want and how to get what you really want, from a design point of view? And I think that what a lot of people are missing is, and maybe this is where I think actually it's quite likely this is where design, particularly we're talking about game design. I think this is where design is going to become far more important in that we're going to need to provide a much stronger design framework that can be used to create the code. So a lot of the code's being created with AI. I don't really have a problem with that, but you're going to have to really tell the code. You're going to have to tell the large language model or whatever what it is you really want. So I think that's potentially an important thing for designers. Like I think really raise the importance of good design and solid design. Any thoughts on that?
It's a lot. It's a lot to unpack.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, what you're getting at, the idea that as designers, sort of bread and butter is communication, right? Usually, hopefully, typically trying to communicate with the player to understand
Let's
the
say
experience they're
creativity and
having.
communication. So creativity
Yeah,
and then communicating to the player, but obviously also communicating to the
to the
development
team,
team.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so yeah, it's interesting to hear you sort of get at that idea that maybe developers will spend more time working on that sort of team communication. Um, and like you said, whether that be becoming that sort of protocol to the large language model. Um, I don't know. There's a lot. I feel like it's really your trap has sprung around my
Hmm.
brain.
Well, let me ask you a leading question. So I mean, you have conceived of and developed a prototype. I'm talking about the jump game. What's it called? What's that one called again?
Deep climb.
Deep Climb. And I mean, I recall when you were doing that because you did some of the coding, and one of the other team members did some of the coding as well in that.
Yep.
Now, so I guess my question is, what was the experience that you had between the concept of what you wanted in your game and then the process of coding that, and what did you come up with? Did you
Yeah,
initially come up with the idea that you was in your mind what you wanted?
I think it's close. It was close.
Mm-hmm.
And then the areas that were grey were filled in as I was programming it. For sort of like, I guess in a way, I was pushing my ideas onto Unreal Engine
Mm-hmm.
and seeing where it pushed back. And so if there were issues, making tweaks to that, which would change my vision so that it could fit. Um, yeah, I don't know if that answers the question.
So you both had the concept of what you wanted to create, yeah,
Mhm.
and you were involved in the programming side of creating that as well. But you still didn't get exactly what you wanted, did you? You had to go
Correct.
through a process, an iterative process of adjusting the code, changing the code, before you got what you wanted. And you were the one who actually had the initial concept. So how would that have been, do you think, if you were actually had that concept and you had to hand it over to a coder or to a large language model? I mean, let's go all in with AI. If you handed that over to your large language model, what do you think you'd end up with?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's reminding me because a lot of the work I've done has been without a dedicated coder or
Mm-hmm.
programmer.
Mm-hmm.
It's been with designers taking on that work.
Yeah.
And so the couple times that I have worked with someone who was not a part of the design field, that was the issues I was running into the most. Was I would try and describe an idea, not be able to fully articulate it, and so they sort of just hit a brick wall. They
Mm-hmm.
would say, well, you like this and this is missing information, so I don't know what you want me to put in there.
Yeah.
I imagine it would be a similar case with a large language model. Either it would hit a brick wall or just put something in interpret my words in some way that it can get an output.
Yeah.
Whereas working with other designers, there was much more flexibility in that, in the understanding that I have a vision that has holes in it, but you as a designer can patch those holes using your design experience and your design knowledge.
Yes. Yes. So there's a couple of things there. If I want to flesh that out a little bit. So the number one is if you're coding your own design, then you can if there are grey areas or areas you haven't covered, details that you don't have, you can make those decisions as you're coding. So that's fine. If you're coding with another human being as a coder, and you're giving your design to another human being, then they may come to a brick wall. They have no idea what you want in this particular circumstance. So either one of two things happens. Either that coder makes a design decision for you. It may not be the right design decision. Or they just say, I don't know what you want. You can get back to me, tell me what you want, and then I'll do it. And so things come to a stop. So that's with sort of human beings. And the thing with a large language model, like even I think it's going to require even more detailed instruction to get what you want. Because like a human being can interpret, particularly if someone, maybe you've worked with them a lot. Once you've worked with someone a lot, you get sort of a bit of a shorthand in communication, and that's sort of best times with in a team. But if you're just working with a large language model, like what the hell? And then what's the quality of the code they come up with as well? But I think the opportunity is, and it's sort of the sort of things that I'm putting together, is like having a structured model for doing the design, which hopefully could actually provide an answer to some of these questions. So you could potentially take the sort of design language, the design patterns, if you like, that they're creating, and maybe there is a way to sort of just hand those over to a large language model, and bang, it comes up with your code. I mean, that would be fantastic. I have a feeling you'd need a coder as well. But it's an interesting thing that it takes the emphasis off the coder, which in computer games has been the emphasis has been on the programmer for a very, very long time, and puts it onto the designer, which I actually think is maybe a positive thing. I think there's going to be some challenges in between, but I think that might be actually a positive way to go.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I do, yeah, like you're saying, having that formal approach to game design, it just runs through my brain pretty much every time I reflect on my time at uni, because it's every time as a designer I've been unable to fully explain or visualize or communicate an idea, I've felt like part of guilt in me, where it's like, I need to get better at this. I need to, be able to communicate this better. And so, yeah, having that formal structure, whether it's going to an LLM or to a programmer coder, it's only going to be helpful if everyone's on the same page.
And I don't think you need to feel guilty about that, because it's the game development community's fault that there is no common language for game design at this point in time. But we will have one, I'm sure, at some stage. It's not your fault. It's not necessarily the game development community's fault. It's just that it's still a very young discipline. So we're not quite there yet.